All right, we are ready to rock.
Okay.
Why don't you guys just do a quick introduction about who you are and your guys' background and how long you've been in the business, why you got into it, just like a quick, few minute, breakdown for me and for people.
Want me to go?
Um, I can start. So we both have backgrounds not in the painting industry at all. I have a sales background and door-to-door background. I've actually
Interesting.
out of high school, I worked door-to-door with home improvement companies. This would be almost 20 years ago, doing windows and siding lead generation. And then from there, I went to like tile and flooring sales and furniture sales. And then about 10 years ago, it came full circle and I started working door to door with a cable company locally. And I was pretty successful at that. I mean, $70,000-$80,000 a year going door to door. And then just kind of bounced around after that, but that's pretty much my background is sales and marketing. So that was a fairly smooth transition into, your method of doing things. So.
Rock on.
My background is I have a business degree from Michigan State. I was in purchasing. I don't really care for the corporate world. I did some personal concierge work after that, where I was basically managing big houses and projects and I was actually hiring contractors and overseeing projects. And I have a design background. My mom had a design company for 20 or 30 years, and I would help her with that. So Jason and I actually were kind of flipping a house, and it was a house that he owned, and we were kind of overseeing the projects, and that kind of is what spurred the idea. We hadn't found you yet, but when we were doing the houses, I was kind of doing picking out all the finishes and everything, and I enjoyed that, and we were overseeing the projects. It actually started as a kitchen cabinet painting idea. When we thought maybe we could save people money by painting kitchen cabinets, because we were doing that with the house we were flipping, and that it was really big right now. When we started researching it more, we found you. And I wasn't interested at all in exteriors because it was just completely opposite of what we were thinking. But when we took your class, I emailed you, you said something that convinced me that it was worth buying the course. I don't know what specifically it was, but we did buy the course and we went through the whole thing and we decided to go with your model. We started our first exterior in 2018, May. So Jason started going door to door, I think in April, and we started our first job in May. We finished last year with about $200,000 in exteriors. And this year we're going strong, but almost maybe too strong, because we are running into issues with trying to find help. We have a really great crew that we were able to keep busy all last year. I think you saw my question on the painting board. We really like them. They're very—
question. There's lots of them. That's why these guys are here today. Yes. Lots of good questions.
I asked Jason, I'm a question person.
That's good.
Much more than he is. But Jason does the sales and the estimating. He goes door to door. I do the color consulting. I do like all the estimates, like the bookkeeping and all of that. We both are kind of doing the production management, but he does that heavier than I do because he's more familiar with the construction aspect of it. And but the question I'm referring to is the subs question. I see the value in it. I definitely see the value in it, especially the more that we work and see how much we work and how much we're doing, why it's fair. However, it's very hard to convince these subs that that's a fair agreement. We are able to keep at least this crew busy. They're super fast. Like they can knock through an exterior in 2 days.
Yeah.
Pretty big exteriors, and there's just 2 of them. But I think, he pretty much tells us, we have a good relationship with him, that long term he wants to go on his own. He can make way more money because we're taking half. And basically, I don't think he sees the value in the model, even though I keep telling him. I told him the other week he didn't work because he went on 3 estimates. And I said to him, well, when you're going on these estimates, you're not making money because you're not painting. And I said, so if we keep you painting, you're making money the whole time. And and you're not making money when you do that. And he told Jason that he's like, I know you guys think that when I'm on estimates, I'm not making money, but I don't see it that way.
Right.
I'm not really sure how he sees it because that's actually how it is, but that's like a mentality that they have that they don't see yet.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't think you might not like my answer. I don't know if you will or not, but well, real quick, before we dive into all these questions. So I wanted to talk to you guys just because you have a lot of great questions. And the thing that's tough about your questions is they're not easy to answer in like a quick little comment in our group.
Right.
So I thought it would be good to address these because these are questions that like I don't think a lot of people are asking, but they're good questions. So I've got an hour set aside for this. If we use it, great. If we don't, that's cool. You said you're going pretty strong this year. What's your guys' sales so far this year?
Jason was just looking at that. Well, we have about 20 exteriors booked that we haven't gotten to. I think we
Got it.
Yeah, I think because we're in Michigan, it's been raining like
Right.
23 out of the last 29 days.
Yeah,
you really saw that statistic, but I think we've done $75,000 so far this year, which isn't great, but we
produced or sold?
Sold. No, sorry, not sold, produced.
And then you've got roughly another 60 to 80,000 sold, ready to go. If you got 20 lined up still, I'd guess that's at 60 to 80K.
Yeah, well, it's tricky because when we get a deposit, she puts it into an invoice, so it probably some of it bulks into that 75. But yeah, we're probably around the 150 range total. I think.
Great. Hey, well, you're getting into your busy season.
Yeah.
In Michigan. I have a company in Michigan too, so I'm aware of the seasonality up there.
Yes.
Has its own challenges.
Yes, it does.
So you guys, one suggestion, just not related to subs, is start getting your online presence really good. Because you guys, I forget, which part of Michigan are you in? Which part of Michigan are you in?
Northville, so like 20 minutes from Detroit, 20 minutes from Ann Arbor.
Got it. Yeah, you want to start getting like an online presence going just for the off season.
Okay.
And then also make all your projections just to assume nothing's going to happen after September 15th.
Okay.
So that's all bonus.
Yeah.
If it does. And, lead services, of course, is something you can leverage in the off season for interior work. But you want to start working on your own online presence in some different ways because door-to-door is tougher for interiors. You probably mess with that and try to get interiors through door-to-door, and maybe that'll work. But then it starts getting so cold you don't want to be going door-to-door anyway. So yeah, so we start, we really focus on like, hey, we've got basically May, June, July, August, and a little of September to paint exteriors.
Yeah.
And we basically make our whole plan for the year like around that.
Yeah.
And we're focusing a lot on getting more and more online presence going so that we have that many more leads coming in when it's slower, but we're not banking on anything coming in when it's slower. That's just like literally bonus. So just something to consider about the market.
On the back end of our website to try to get that going, because that was a problem. I mean, there's just like a drop off a cliff after our first year with interiors. I have found that throughout the course of doing exteriors, you probably 1 out of every 10 jobs end up being you doing something for that person within the next year interior, which you try to just push off to the winter basically.
Yeah.
I think lead services, we dabbled a little bit, but I think the problem in Michigan going into December, January, even the back end of November is that everybody is starting to use lead services. So every painting company out there, and we don't have any established presence, so it's going to be hard to get jobs from the home advisor guy that has 45 reviews.
That's what I mean. That's exactly what I mean with what I said. So we're like using home advisors, stacking as many reviews as we can. So when winter comes, and same thing with like other services like that, is anything we can online we're using now to stack them.
Gotcha.
So, because I agree with you. We need to prepare for that.
Exteriors then basically is what you're saying.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly. Yeah. You use, so examples, you use Home Advisor to get exterior jobs, make sure you turn those into reviews so that when winter does come, you've got a little leg up on people. That's the thing is this business is not super competitive. There's not that many people who it doesn't take that many reviews to be at the top of any review site.
That's And one thing that we found that has worked really well for us is the Nextdoor app. I'm sure you guys have that, right?
Yeah, well, I'm familiar with it. Yeah, we haven't used it a ton, but
A ton of business, actually. Well, we're at a point right now where we have enough jobs and enough leads that we need more subs, and we are having issues finding good ones or finding anyone. So we're slightly hesitant to do something like Home Advisor because we don't know that we even have, we're kind of over.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you've got the production concern, right? That's what you're getting at, is you just want to make sure you're going to be able to produce.
right.
Cool. All right, well, yeah, let's get into those. So which one do you want to start with? This fair thing?
Yeah, we can start with that because that was my most recent question on the board. Go ahead.
Yeah. So my thought on that, if I had a guy that was acting that way and talking that way, my thinking would be like, that's just not my guy.
Yeah.
I can sit there and like try and break numbers down and all that, but it's kind of like what you resist, he's just going to dig in more.
Yeah.
Like, that's how humans work. It's cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
He already has a belief. If you present him evidence counter to it, it doesn't compute. It just digs people in deeper. So what I do instead is I'm going to instead I got to just get leverage instead.
Okay.
So I want to just go find someone who's the right guy.
Okay.
So there's different types of painting contractors, right? We're on one end, right, where we're not doing any of our own work, basically. Meaning, we're like we're trying to be the bigger company.
Right.
We're trying to be a large company that's professional and has professional processes and has a scaled team and operates like a real business.
Right.
Like a large business. So that's one end. And that's where, to be on that end, you need to be paying out about 50% to labor and materials, because that's about the margins you need. And in fact, we're actually going to be probably going lower than 50%, because I've created way too much value here for me to be making some of the margins I make sometimes. I'm taking way more risk on. If we fall 200 grand short of our sales target this year, our margins drop to 12%. And I don't want to be, I'm taking a lot of risk, with the salaries and the overhead and everything we have now. And so I need that to be even lower so I can actually get compensated for all the work I've put in. And it doesn't seem that way to someone who hasn't done it, but knowing how much how hard it's been, going from, $1 million to 3 million or 4 million, like, man, it's a lot of work, and I want to be compensated for that. And I take a lot of risk as well. And I provide a lot of value to a lot of people.
Right.
So we need to be at those 50% margins, maybe even better on this end of the spectrum. And then you have all of it on the other end of the spectrum. You have subcontractors who all they want to do is be a subcontractor. They don't want to do any of their own stuff. And then you've got this range of people in the middle, where like you've got subs who once in a while, maybe they take jobs from multiple people, or once in a while they'll do their own bids. That's kind of the middle of the road guys, the guy that'll go and do his own bids. And I don't know enough about this guy's business. Maybe he's making more money doing his estimates because maybe he's charging a little more.
Right.
He might be doing that. I don't know. I'm not gonna get into that with him. Where I'm gonna have more leverage is and where I'm gonna focus is on how do I provide something really great to the person who's the right match for me.
Okay.
And that's all I'm gonna focus on. And I know there's enough of those guys out there.
Okay. So
and
we haven't come across any of them yet. We interviewed probably 30 some subs when we first started. They all had their own company, or all worked for themselves, I should say. None of them were just subcontractors. We did the Craigslist. We have a Facebook ad.
Well,
where did you find them? Where did you find?
Yeah, same on Craigslist. And it's not, I think there might have just, when you were just getting started, there might have just been like some miscommunication about what they mean by like they do their own stuff. Look, by doing their own stuff, I bet very few of them are like marketing themselves and getting, like, they're all doing their own stuff.
Right.
As a sub for contractors.
Right.
And yes, they're getting their own jobs from other contractors.
Gotcha.
I would bet you out of those 30, almost all of them are not paying for marketing, and they're not out there doing quotes directly to homeowners.
Okay.
That is a subset.
Right.
You know, just like I certainly wouldn't go on Google and find the highest listed guy and be like, hey, can I subcontract to you?
Right.
Right? Because that's someone who's doing my thing. Then you're kind of going to the next person. This guy, at least, is kind of that next tier where, look, he's a great guy to keep around for now.
Yeah.
To bridge the gap. And I've had those guys,
Okay.
you know, and I had an amazing sub, this guy, Francisco, amazing guy, amazing sub, did so many jobs for me. He ran several crews. He could do like 20, 25K a week. He was awesome. And then he just started wanting more money. And so what some people do is they pay him more. I said, well, that's too bad this doesn't work anymore, man.
Yeah.
And we haven't worked together for 4 years. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Because I know like, hey, this is my model and I just need to find the person who's the right fit for me. And I know they're there because we just brought on like a bunch of new subs in our company in Michigan. So I know they're there, and we're just doing through Craigslist and everything.
You remember? Do you know what city it's in? Is it Canton?
It's just that whole area. I mean, we're not like
Yeah.
what's that?
That's really close to us. I think it's like within 15 minutes of where we are.
Yeah.
They should be here. We're
Yeah, the greater area. They are there. And so here's the other thing that I'll just kind of bounce around and gives just like some perspective. I think, and that's why this was hard to answer in a comment, is because it's a shift in just perspective.
right.
Your question was how to do this, and it's the answer is not how to do it. The answer is don't bother doing that. Take a different perspective at the thing.
I get it.
And
So we should actually. I was sitting here stewing over how to convince him, but it's not even worth it.
No. Instead, what you do, if you want to keep this guy, the best thing to do is to see how do I provide more value to him than he's getting from his other stuff. And if he values the other stuff more than whatever you can provide, then there's never going to be any convincing him.
Okay.
It'll be impossible to.
Yeah.
You know, that's like someone's got $4 and you've got $3. You're never going to get them to take the $3 over the $4.
Right.
But if I can figure out how to provide $4 to someone and he's getting $4 over here, but this is easier $4, I'll keep it.
Right.
That's all I got. That's where I'm going to focus.
Yeah. Were you going to say something?
No, I mean, I'm pretty sure that it's going to boil down to us having to pull some work away. And I really feel like he'll probably see the grass is greener and buy back in.
You mean it isn't greener?
Where the grass isn't greener on the
Yeah.
other side and buy back in. And I'm sure that happens with a lot of subs too. When you kind of, like you said, you had to part ways with that guy. I bet there's a good majority that probably come back at that.
I get a message from him every 6 months. You got any jobs?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, at this rate, and we don't do jobs. But there's so yeah, we'll hit a lot of different things here. So as they come up, I'll just like share some examples and hopefully that'll help you guys fill in like kind of a different perspective on this whole thing. We had a company that was doing about 15K a week for us, and they've done a lot of jobs for us. And then in 1 week, this was 2 or 3 weeks ago, in 1 week, they had like 2 or 3 problem jobs, where they did poor quality. They tried to bring on more people so they could do more work, and the quality went down, and then we had to go and clean up the mess, and we made the clients happy and we got it all taken care of. But it took my production manager half of his week was on like these 2 jobs. And so what we did is we said, you're cut off. You're at the bottom of the totem pole now. You're at the bottom of the pecking order. You can't do that. And so here's what's going to happen is they can't get jobs from us now. They were doing $15,000 a week. Do you know how many other companies in Northern Colorado are doing $15,000 a week?
None.
Probably 5,
Okay. Yeah.
right? There's not many. Like, I mean, there's probably not, like maybe 5 companies. Now, if there's 5 companies that are doing at least $15,000 a week, how many of them need 15K a week of production? They probably don't, because they're doing 15K a week. They should already have guys.
Right.
So at best, someone's going to be what they're going to have to do to keep up all these labor people they brought on is they're going to have to do work for 2 or 3 different contractors at the same time. Chances are those contractors aren't going to pay as well as us.
Right.
They're not going to pay immediately like we do. They're not going to be as organized as us. And they're not going to have consistent work the way we do. Right. And so this contractor is going to go and feel kind of the pain a little bit of what it's like to screw up their relationship with us. And in a month, we'll give them a call and say, hey, we're willing to work with you guys again. Here's the rules. And chances are they'll be like, okay, yeah. We'll do it, because And see, so where I have leverage,
Yeah.
where I have true leverage working with subcontractors is not because I'm manipulative or I have good words or I can talk someone into anything or I'm cornering people or anything. It's like the way I have leverage with subcontractors is by genuinely, authentically providing great value to them.
Yeah.
That's it. You know, how do I pay the most money, the fastest, with the most consistent work and being organized and treating them fair and treating them well?
Right.
So I don't ever, you know, I hear a lot of people get into arguments with subcontractors or demean them or speak in like demeaning ways. And it's like, no, dude, these are like just, our subs are great people. They're just great people. You know, in general, subcontracting has a bad connotation. People like talk trash on subs. Like, dude, it's just they're all people, employees, subcontractors. It's a designation. There's some different rules for them, but they're all people. And I'm going to just really try to provide for them. And if they break the rules, I'm going to let them know, hey, I'm not going to get mad at them or upset at them. I'm going to say, hey, that doesn't work for me. Here's my rules. If we want to work together, this is what I need for you to work with me. And if you can't honor that, then I won't work with you. And I'm okay with that. And I have leverage because I know I provide more value than anybody else does. And that's how I get the best subcontractors, is because I provide the most value. So eventually they come to me.
Right.
So I'm going to bounce kind of to the next relevant point here. So I was talking to a woman in Raleigh, North Carolina, which is like a phenomenal painting market right now. We actually, our business partner in Michigan moved there to like move his company, and they moved right back because the rest of the family missed Michigan. But we started 2 other companies there that didn't work out. One we sold, one we closed. Anyways, it's this like ridiculous market right now, Durham, Raleigh area.
Mm-hmm.
All like $4,000 to $5,000 exteriors, seas of houses, booming economy. And this woman who's looking to start a company there said, I was talking to a subcontractor about starting a company. And he told me that I shouldn't bother because all the subs have all the work they can handle right now. You'll never find anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, let me fix this perspective a little bit.
Yeah.
You are correct. There is no subcontractor in Raleigh going without work right now.
Mm-hmm.
That is correct. But they're not all loyally working for one contractor because this industry sucks and people are constantly burning bridges.
Right.
So every subcontractor in Raleigh that's busy right now is working for some contractor because there's no shortage of finding work, right? But there is a shortage of finding a good guy to work with.
That makes sense.
And so subs are always getting turned over. And I know, because I know a lot of the great companies in Colorado are my good friends.
Right.
Or I know the businesses, well, and I know some of my competitors and how they treat some of their subs.
Right.
And I'm like, man, I just grabbed a sub from CertaPro the other day because I was talking to him, and it's like, oh yeah, we will easily out provide what CertaPro is providing to him.
Do you charge more than CertaPro? Because we actually had a quote from CertaPro just to see what they were charging and how they presented themselves. And I think we actually have talked to some people who work for CertaPro. I think they might pay 55%. Is that right?
50 or 55.
Yeah. So do you just charge more to pay the sub better? Is that how you're able to pay them so well?
Yeah, I think we've been constantly been trying to work on our percentages and all that. I mean, look, for us, it's I think kind of, if a job's like $4,000 and I'm charging 45,
right?
That's still close enough to like the range of prices where I'm not ripping the customer. I don't feel like I'm ripping anybody off by charging more because I get the best subs. I get the best, and even if I'm using an employee model, I can get the best painter employees if I charge more.
Right.
So I can deliver a better experience to my clients, which justifies that they're paying more. And I'm so good at our sales process, which is like that program I've teased out that I'm doing. It's like, I'm going to go all in on training people on sales, because if you're really good at sales, it's not about price. Right. And when I charge a better price, I can deliver a better experience. I can find better guys. I can, it's all, so I don't know. if we charge more than Serpro or not?
So yeah,
Right.
one of the things I keep saying is I think when the subs hear 50% or 55, they get mad, but I don't think the percentage matters as long as
It doesn't.
So
And that's why I don't talk in percents
yeah,
early on with new subs.
right.
I talk in dollar amounts only.
I think that makes sense too.
I just, this guy I just took from CertaPro. I never mentioned a percentage to him. I just walked up to him. He was painting condos near my house. And I was like, hey, man, are you subcontracting or are you working for these guys? He's like, no, I'm a sub. I'm like, cool. Are you interested in working for anybody else? Like, are you looking for work? Because I run a painting company.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, yeah. And I'm like, cool. So, like, where do you live? Like, he's like, oh, I live in Aurora, hour and 45 minutes away. So they're massive commute for this job. And I'm like, oh, dude, I actually have a company in Aurora. I mean, I can get you jobs in your backyard. I can keep you busy till October if you want. Like, we've got tons of work. And we started talking, and I'm like, cool, man. So what I'll do is I'll send you a picture of a house we have, how much I can pay you for it. And then whatever number I send you would buy the materials and you'd cover the labor. So your labor and materials, I'm just going to send you a few pictures of the house, the type of paint we're using, our price per gallon, and how much I can pay you. And if you think it looks good for you, we'll do it.
Okay.
We'll do a job together. And I sent it over to him, and I'm always, going to pick, my production manager first sent me kind of a funky house. It was like a stain job with it was a very cool house, modern house, but it's not the one I want to lead with. Right. So I'm like, give me a better one than that. So I sent over to one, I sent him a 2-story, 10-year-old track home, flat ground, flat trim, minimal prep work. Looks really simple, really easy, but it's also like $2,500 payout, $5,000, but it's basic. And dude, that's like, yes, please. I want that job. And I'll give him that one. And then I'll give him another one or two of those. And once I establish a relationship, then I'll be like, hey man, I've kind of got a weird one for you to do now. And we'll do the stain one. And then if he starts seeing the percentage, it doesn't matter later because he already knows my number is good. And if they do say, hey man, it's just this 50%, I just say, hey man, I get it. That's just what we can do. And forget the 50%. Can you make money on this?
Yeah.
Because, I could, charge more and pay you even less and it'd be more money.
Right.
Or I could pay you 70% of a much lower price and you get less money. So,
yeah.
So that's what'll help.
When you're looking for new subcontractors, almost all of the houses around us require board replacement. So do you have most of those guys can do that, or do you guys have like a carpenter? Because now we're working on trying to find a carpenter who can do that.
Yeah. So different things at different companies. Right now, like at Foothills, that's our big company, right? So Foothills do like 3.5, and we have wood replacement on probably 70% of houses right now. Mm-hmm. And we don't have a carpenter, and we don't have a sub that can do it either. And we don't price it in the job. We literally are telling our customers, we'll refer you someone.
Okay.
And we're losing jobs because of it, but we're still selling 45% of our jobs. Gotcha. And we're probably leaving, our average job size will probably go up by $500 when we bring on a full-time carpenter. But I got other projects I need to complete before I add another project to my list. Okay. So we will bring on a full-time carpenter. What you could do is just find a carpenter and either refer it or quote it at cost, or quote it, double his, increase his fee and just put it in the contract. So you'll just have to deal, we kind of got to deal with the cards we're dealt. Like I can kind of provide, hey, here's the fundamental model, but like, man, if only it were that easy.
Right.
Yeah. I'm constantly changing and tweaking our business. Like the bigger it gets, something we're running into now is we get like 7 lead leads a week. So we need to get lead certified and get a crew that's lead certified. And we're working with an abatement company who can come in and abate the house before we bid it. And like, that's a whole new system I got to build that I didn't have a problem with a year or two ago. And now we're getting so many leads. Our average job size, like $2,000, but now we're turning down 10 jobs a week that are under $2,000. I'm like, dude, that's probably a lot of clients who right now it's an $800 job, but in 6 months there's an interior for $2,500. Like we're losing clients by not being able to serve them. So I've got to build that system next. So it's a never-ending process of building systems and solving problems. And I've always got whatever solution I put in place now won't work in 6 months. And then I can put a new one. And so you just got to kind of fall in love with the process of it a little bit. and enjoy the creativity that's required to solve these problems. Like that's what you get paid for as an entrepreneur, is to solve problems and to provide value to people.
Yeah, so I think we're not doing much work, but we actually want to dabble with like hardy plank siding replacement too, just because they're, you know, big jobs and you know, you there's decent profit. We've done a few against other big companies in the area, and you know, these are $45,000-$50,000 houses, and you get a crew.
Yep.
And it really doesn't affect our painting business much. You just kind of subbing it out. So that's
The only caution I would have there, because I've had a lot of painting business pro people pivot into different markets. You know, Justin in Kansas City, he had like $500,000 in business their first year in painting. They're doing like all remodel now. You know, and I've had in Rich, the interview I did a couple weeks ago, like he's basically in like government commercial painting now and doing flooring and full scope stuff, right? So I've had people do that. What you want to be careful though of is I've also seen a lot of people where you're in the house and they're like, hey, do you know anyone who does windows? And you're like, shit, I could just like book that job and sub that out. So the hard part about building a business is the scaling of it.
right.
And I can just tell from direct experience that staying just in residential repaints, it's hard enough to train an effective employee. But when I need to bring an employee in to run production for residential repaints, that's a challenge in itself. But if I've got to bring in a production manager who needs to be able to produce residential repaints, commercial repaints, siding jobs, and this job, it starts being harder to bring people in who are qualified. It's harder to train them, and there's way more room for error and problems, and it creates less efficiency, which usually results in higher costs.
Yeah.
And it almost, so what I'm doing instead of that approach, because trust me, I'm such an entrepreneur, it like kills me to pass up opportunities, but I'm just staying disciplined with like, look, I'm getting residential repaints to 10 million a year. And then I'm going to get my partners to 10 million a year. And then I'm going to roll commercial out, but I'm going to roll it out way, way faster than I ever would have the other way around.
Right.
And then we'll add roofing. And then but we're going really deep first before scaling to the point where like my painting company needs to be growing 30% year over year without my attention before I'm going to invest into the next vertical.
Right.
So, you know, I would just be careful not to fall on the slippery slope of it.
We don't want to branch off too far. I guess the value I saw in that is, you know, we can do $500,000 in business with 25 jobs, or we can do $500,000 in business with 125 jobs. So
yeah,
you can manage 25 jobs, you know.
Yeah.
That's the value. Another question I have is I cannot find anybody to go door to door. And again, it's not a huge concern because we're behind on painters right now, but you know, we're trying Facebook ads, we're trying Handshake, which reaches out to college kids. I'm starting to get.
Have you used Indeed?
No, we haven't used Indeed.
We've hired all of our door-to-door marketers off of Indeed, and what I found, the biggest mistake I see people make when it comes to hiring people for door-to-door is they so badly want to hire people that people don't want the job.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yes.
The key is to actually my partners and I, we had a conversation a couple weeks ago, and they're like, so yeah, what I want to talk about is how to get some marketers. I'm like, okay, well, the answer to your question is not going to be an answer to your question. Your problem isn't how to get them. The first problem is, what are you providing that would make you want to be selective? Like, I want to make sure I'm providing something so good to people and I'm truly investing in them so that I will want to be selective. See, like, I treat our door-to-door marketing team like they're salespeople. I mean, they're at every company event. They're on every company conference call. They're at the team meeting. They have one-on-one meetings every week. They get just as much, you know, training and development and investment as anybody else does. They have a $500 a week base salary. They have reports they need to complete and fill out. They make good money and they make great money. And because we invest so much into them, we're very picky and we take our time. And same thing with our Michigan company. We only have 2 right now, but they're rock stars. So Indeed is where we've hired all of our door-to-door marketers, and we're just very selective, and we're not kind of trying to like get somebody out there so that it's off my plate. It's like we're investing in these guys. Like, how are these guys going to be with us in 3 or 4 years?
Do you know if you normally use the term door to door in your advertising? Because we thought
We
that
tested both.
turned people off, and then when we took it out, when they found out it was door to door, they didn't want it. So I'm not sure which way is. Have you
I
had
don't know.
one way or the other either?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I've done both as well.
As we say that to them, they are just not on board anymore.
Yeah, I think at
So,
this point, I think just putting door to door in there makes sense because at least you're going to weed them out before you have to have a phone conversation and break the news to them. Because our marketing ads, everybody, they're young kids, and they're like, "Oh, I thought you were doing digital marketing," and I'm like, "Okay, well,
Right.
waste of
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what they're saying right now.
So Indeed, you're paying for that though, correct?
Oh yeah. We spend a lot of money on recruiting.
Indeed.
Gotcha.
I mean, we just hired a salesperson, and we probably spent close to $1,000 on job ads, and we went through 400 applicants to hire.
Do you advertise subs on Indeed too, or mostly just no? Okay.
You ever have door to door guys that transition into your sales department, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, 2 of my business partners started as door-to-door marketers.
Makes sense.
So our job title right now for one of these marketing ads is marketing rep professional training provided, 500 per week plus bonuses is the title. And we call it, you spend time canvassing.
Okay.
Right.
And then we follow it up with, this includes talking to customers at their house and offering free painting estimates to homeowners who clearly need a paint job.
Okay. Well, that explains it pretty well.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's similar, but yours is a little more specific. I think I took out door to door and I said identifying houses in need of paint and setting up an estimate, but I think yours might convey that a little better. So I can change that.
Yeah, and it's just Indeed, I think that'll help because you'll get more people. You can't be too shy about investing, some money into recruiting. And you'll just kind of test and see. And honestly, like, so much of this is patience. So the other thing I was going to mention around the subcontractor thing is you don't need that many subs. Did I lose you guys?
It's kind of spotty.
I got you still.
Yeah, you're back.
Yep, cool. Yeah, your face is froze on me.
Okay.
So you don't need that many subs to have a great business.
Okay.
Let's say we've got 6 months of production. That means about 125,000 in production per 2-man crew.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you got a $750,000 business, you need like 12 painters in Michigan. And that's if we don't do anything 5 months a year.
Right.
That could literally be like 4 subs it'll be 2 to 5 subs.
Okay.
And so the key is just to stay in the game. I mean, we have a production capacity right now at Foothills of like 140K a week, and we're just recruiting subs every week. We're just not stopping, because even if we had the subs we need, I'm like, I'm going to always be recruiting because I'm waiting for that really good one who's working for some person. That contract ends because the relationship soured, or they got stiffed on a payment, or they just got fed up, or the person ran out of work or whatever. And right when that really good sub goes looking for work again, I want to be there with open arms, So I'm not going to ever not be looking. And that's also the other piece that kind of gives me some leverage. It's never in a position where I need someone.
What's the number one place that you post for subs? Is it Craigslist?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if did you take notes on my questions? Because I know another one that I really wanted to discuss with you was the setting limits. We both have issues with setting limitations and saying no to people, being either that a sub or a customer.
Yeah.
And I was really curious to hear what you had to say about that. We have a few customers that are already customers that become completely unreasonable, requesting things that are not really at all fair. But Jason's a salesperson. He likes to say yes to everyone. And I keep saying we have to draw the line at some point, but he doesn't want a bad review. I mean, not that I want a bad review either, but what's your take on that?
Well, again, it's an ambiguous take, because there's not a cut and dry black and white answer because every situation is different.
Right.
So with subcontractors, my position is basically I'm going to always jump on the first grenade to earn some respect and trust.
Okay.
And use that as an opportunity to set an expectation.
So an example is we're trying out a sub right now who came recommended from our Sherwin-Williams rep, who seems nice, but we don't know him well enough. He's doing his pay is $4,000 for an interior. He wants us to pay him $2,000 tomorrow because he's halfway done. That's not how we operate. We already paid for the materials because it's a long story. Basically,
yeah.
We wind up getting it. So we've already paid $600 for materials.
Sure.
I told Jason I was okay with giving him a little bit of money, like maybe $500 or something, but I don't want to pay him for half because there's really that's not how we operate. The customer hasn't paid us. Would you say no to that, or would you just do it to keep him happy, or?
No, it's neither.
Okay.
Because that's kind of like I'm either just going to cave to him or I'm going to like draw a line. And I'm looking at this like, my dog, what's that?
There was someone opening the door.
Yeah, it's my dog.
Okay, gotcha.
My dog came creeping in. What I'm really committed to is building a winning relationship with anyone I'm working with. That's my intention.
Right.
And so I would first look, was I clear about our agreement?
Mm-hmm.
And if I was like definitely clear about that, then I'd be like, I would just talk to him and not, just like, oh, he's asking for more money, and say, hey man, so yeah, I mean, we don't typically do that. We talked about this before we started the job. Is there a reason why all of a sudden this is coming up? Like, did you like maybe, so it's all circumstantial, right? Because if this, let's say it was an exterior and it was raining and raining and raining and he needed to make payroll for his guys and or he got in a car accident or he needed something then I'm like, look, okay, yeah, like that makes sense. Now, if he's just kind of blatantly like almost holding me hostage,
right,
then I'd probably be like, no, man, like, look, I'll give you a small, we don't do that. Like you're 2 days from finishing the job. Like we just want to get this job finished.
Right.
Or, I'm going to come by and see the job. I'll give you 500 just to float you a couple days, but we'll make the final payment when we're done.
Yeah.
So I would make sure that I'm not going to give him an equal progress payment for sure. Like if he's half done, I'm not paying him half.
Right. And that's
I'll pay less than that.
Yes. And if it was like our other sub that we work with all the time, I would even give him money up front because I totally trust him. But this guy is like the second. I don't think he's going to run away, but I don't think that's the way to start the job. We did find out though that
gives him the option to run away.
Yeah.
Right.
But apparently when he does do his own jobs and he does ask the customers to pay along the way, which we don't ever do that, and that's not how we operate. And he might be the type who is working in like some lower income areas, so not really like the same quality as we really are. So
yeah, we had a conversation at the beginning of the week, and he said he's bringing on help, which he usually doesn't have, and he wanted, we talked about $500 at the end of the week, and I said I'm okay with that, and then earlier today we had the conversation. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, it's $500 good. He's like, no, I'm about halfway done, so I think I'm gonna need $1,400 because I'm not gonna get paid again until next week. So that's where I'm like, okay, well, I'll talk to Jennifer, but
well, and that's honestly, that's where like I think it was more in your approach. Yeah. And asking again, you already had made an agreement, so then you almost opened the door for him to ask more when you said, is 500 going to be okay? Instead of just like, I'll have that 500 for you tomorrow. And then he says, actually it's 14. And I say, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
No, man, we talked about 5, like not 14. Like, I know you take progress payments when you do your own work, but we talked about this at the beginning of the job. Like maybe like, look, if we were working together and we had like a great working relationship and you were in a bind, like I'd help you out, but our agreement is to finish, and yeah, you're not going to get paid till next week. That was the arrangement initially. And I'll pay you the day the job is done in full. Like you're not going to wait for payment. But earlier this week you said 500 and that's, I'm comfortable with that. I can give you the 500, but I can't do 14.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of like me keeping the strong frame of things, but also not being, being reasonable and being fair and being great with people, but also being clear with my own boundaries on that. At least with subs. That'd be my answer on subs, right?
Yes.
Now, if we looked at customers, this is the trickier one. It's such a massive cost benefit thing.
Yeah.
I'm way less interested in how much money I'm going to lose or whatever on any individual job. The lesson is more valuable than the money.
Right.
And so if I got a customer who's like demanding more stuff, I got to look and be like, okay, I wasn't clear that that's not included up front. And so in the future, when we sell, I need to either add something to my contract or change this or change that. So I'm almost always going to do what the customer wants.
Okay.
Almost always. And I will use that as a one-time lesson for myself that like, okay, what did I need to do up front to make sure this didn't happen? And just learn from it. The exception, the only place I would not just do what they ask is if it's either a lot of money or like really unreasonable. Like they're asking me to redo the house or something.
Just a really short, like,
Yeah.
version, and I can't see how we're wrong on this one. Is Jason quoted, we did the exterior, but he also quoted painting her deck wrought iron rail. And last Friday, she decided that she wasn't sure if she wanted it painted anymore. So I have this all in writing and text. She asked me in a text, how much would it be to take the black iron rail off? I said $350. She said, well, that doesn't seem like that much. I'll have to think about it. I thought, well, she's just going to do it because it's only $350. She texted me at 1:30 in the morning and said, I've decided that it's not going to last long enough. I don't want to do it. Take it off. Well, I thought, I'm super thorough. So I texted her the next day and I said, just to make sure you want to take this off and you don't want any of this painted. She said, that's correct. When the painters finished the job and we want to get paid, she said, well, $350 isn't enough money. And this other painter that I was going to have painted, it charges me $1,500 for it. So I want you to take more off. And I was very clear with her that it was $350. We're not taking $1,500 off her quote, obviously. She's wrong. And I said, well, I told you it was $350. I have it in writing and you told me not to do it. And I told her you needed to tell me while they were here. The painters had already left. And she said, well, for $350, I just want them to do it then. They're already gone and we're already on to other jobs at this point. And
I would go back and do it.
I'm sorry.
So I would go back and do it for the $350.
You would?
Yeah.
Well, the painters don't want to do it for $350. Jason didn't know and he totally underpriced it. I guess it should have been way more. And she's such a problem and we're so backed up that we don't really think that we should go back there at this point. And she told me she didn't want it done. So I don't know. And so I guess she's basically asking us to take more money off of her total or
look, here's where you're in a tough spot.
Mm-hmm.
Is you did screw up.
Right.
Look, if I didn't screw up, then I would have all the leverage in the world in this situation. And I would say, no, I'll take off $350. That's what we priced this at. And that's what I can take off, which is what you priced it at and is what you were willing to take off. She said, no, don't do it. And now she's requesting to do it. So it is kind of this weird spot you're in.
Where did we screw up? By underpricing it?
Underpricing it, yeah. Because if it wasn't underpriced, you would just go and do it.
Right. Well,
the only reason you don't want to go back and do it is because she's difficult, but that's never a reason to not do it.
Right.
You know?
Well, we don't think that it's gonna. We're not really sure that it's going to she'll ever be satisfied, but we also felt like that price was included with while we were already there and as part of the job, not a separate job. And once we're gone, we don't really come back for a $350 job anyway. I mean, that
has a lot to do with how I price things. The guys are going to be there for 2
So
days.
you could discuss that with her then.
I did tell her that, and she's just saying, well, you have to come back to do a touch up anyway, so just do it then. And I was like, well, the touch up is something that we need to fix because we did it wrong and we scheduled time for that, but we didn't schedule time to paint the whole railing because you said you didn't want it. So, but
yeah. Well, here's the bottom line though.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to deal with this however you choose to deal with it.
Right.
The thing to learn from it, that's all that matters. You're going to run into a million of these. The learning lesson is we would not be in this position if we had bid it right.
Right.
Period.
Right.
So that's where I can take full responsibility, is like, I underbid this and now I'm kind of trying to get out of it because it's underbid. If it wasn't underbid, this wouldn't really be then the only problem would be she's difficult, but you're always going to have difficult clients.
Even if we underbid it, we would have done it if she
Right.
had told me to do it. I told her they need to know
Right.
tomorrow. She said no, and I verified it with her. So I think that was more of the issue was, you know, we really would have done it for only $350 if she had said yes when
Right.
we were there. And I thought she was going to, because I thought
Right.
$350 is nothing. She's just going to have us do it. But I think her
Well,
plan was just to get us to take like $1,000 or $1,500 off her quote instead, which
Yeah.
is not an option.
Yeah, no, totally. There's not a lot of value in like talking about it and trying to assume her intentions and assume what she was or wasn't intending to do and justifying your own actions and defending your actions, and just, you know, there's just not a lot of value there. Like we could talk in circles about that. The bottom line is, I wouldn't be in this position if I didn't underbid it. So let's make sure not to make that mistake as least often as we can.
Yeah. Other lessons, we don't want to ever paint a pergola again.
Right.
Yeah, totally. We just priced. Look, we ran into stuff with fences, so we just bid fences high as hell.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is, regardless of who's right, who's wrong, what her intentions are, what your explanations are, you know, all this stuff is, you've got a client, she's requesting this, and you know what happened. What happened is we said we take off $350. She said, don't do it then. You finished the job. Now she said, actually, I do want you to do it. And so you can do what she asks, or you can not do it and risk whatever backlash that could have.
Right.
And that's really the whole thing, is I just got to be responsible for my actions. And I also got to be responsible for the fact that I might go do it and she might not be happy still. Right. And that's just, unfortunately, that's life as a business owner. It's all where I've got power as a business owner is when I'm just fully responsible for all of it all the time, which is kind of a pain in the ass.
No, I remember you saying that, and I actually like that way of thinking.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's incredibly powerful. It just, you know, it's, I would want to just like kind of shed away my resistance to the situation.
Yeah.
The biggest impact is the upset and the resistance to it.
Yeah.
You know, it's from financial standpoint, it's not a huge deal either way.
Exactly.
Most of it is go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say, I think that's what my issue is it's not even this specific instance. I just said that one because it was a concrete example, but it's more so of us trying to find limitations to saying no, because I feel like sometimes when we just keep saying yes to everything, it's not in our best interest, but we're having issues with drawing the line on that sometimes. Both of us don't really like to, we're maybe the opposite of where we're too nice to people sometimes, not to our customers, but we're not good at saying no to people, and neither of us like it. So we wind up.
And like you said, there's a fine line. Or is this going to turn into a bad review and cost me $50,000? Where right now
in sales. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I err on the side of I am a yes to all customers.
Yeah.
The only time I'm not is when, see, here's my gauge for saying no.
Okay.
If they leave a bad review and I say, and I can respond to it with everything I did, and people would be like, that's obviously a crazy customer. This business owner did everything in his power, then I'm good. But, and I don't know if that's I don't think you would have to justify and defend yourself too much on this one for it to be a no for me.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like if someone looked at what she would write and then you looked at what you wrote, it would kind of look like a dispute. Right. Not like, see, I don't mind our 1-star reviews because I know that we have gone above and beyond. Truly above and beyond, and they have taken advantage of us. Yes. So I'm okay with that. Yeah. Because I think customers who see all 5-star reviews are skeptical of that.
Right. That was helpful. So yeah. Okay.
And then I just kind of choose it. I'm just like, yeah, this is business. And I budget for it.
Yeah, it's not the money. I'm really more of a principle thing. And I'm like, after a while, it does seem like we're just like almost getting taken advantage of at some point. Well, she was just difficult in general, but there's some other ones that might be taking advantage a little bit because we're offering too much, I guess, or they're not seeing, they don't think they realize the value or how much time it takes to paint a side of a house. So they just say, go back and fix this or repaint it when it really would take a whole day. They think it'll take like a half hour. So stuff like that. It's-
I'd be curious to know how, the way you talk about it sounds like it's happening all the time.
No, there's been like maybe 3 or 4 clients lately that there've been,
Out of how many?
oh gosh, 100.
Yeah.
So
Probably
look, you are not being taken advantage of. You're just in business.
Well, yeah, but I
No,
mean,
no, no. Like just from a statistic standpoint,
right,
that's just, look, 3 out of 100 customers do ask for more than they paid for.
right.
And it's
But-
not you being taken advantage of. It's just, that's how business is.
Right. But the other thing that goes in with that and the saying no is a large number. I think I've brought this up on the board before too, is a large number of the people that we quote are trying to negotiate the price. And Jason is maybe, in my opinion, too willing to do that because he wants to win the job. And does that?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I agree. I think they're separate issues, but
Yeah.
there might be something too. If you could negotiate, then you can negotiate now.
Right.
Maybe.
Right.
But so I wouldn't do that. I mean, our policy on negotiating is
Mhm.
like $100.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you know, that's kind of where we try to stay at. Like, I'm not, you know, it's usually people just asking, and if they ask, you kind of feel stupid if you draw a
Yeah.
line in the sand, and then you want to lose $2,000 over $100.
Yeah.
But there's the flip thing of, they always say, is this your best price? Like, yes, but then I always feel like if you lower a price, they're kind of like, well, why didn't you just give me that price to begin with? So that's another thing that could go either way.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's if they say, is it your best price? I'm like, yeah, well, that's what it's going to cost. That's what it costs for me to deliver what we talked about. Yeah. That's the price. And if they're like, can you do any better? I'm like, I guess I'm not sure what you mean.
Yeah.
Like, can you lower this? I'm like, I mean, I could lower this by $1,000 if you want me to not do any prep.
Right. And that's what we say. We say, well, we can use a less expensive paint or something.
Yeah.
You know,
And then they're like, well, I've got this other bid that's 800 less and I just can't justify 800 more. Then I say, look, I don't know how they're doing it for 800 less because I know this is what it cost me to do.
Right.
If you trust them just as much as you trust me and you can save 800, I would just go with them.
Right.
Now, I can't lower my price 800 because I know I'm going to have to sacrifice the quality of your job and I don't want to do that. Look, I'll tell you what, I can take like 100 off, but if I take off much more than that, I'm going to feel pressured to like rush through your job and I want to make sure we can deliver on this. So balls in your court.
Okay. Good answers.
No.
Super helpful, Eric. Thank you.
Yeah. And then, well, yeah. So yeah, I hope that helps. I think the thing I would summarize like as a blanket to all questions you've had today and all future questions you will have is that there's not hopefully you gathered this, that there's not almost necessarily an answer,
Mm-hmm.
that there's just to learn.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
See, all of your questions are related to failures,
Mm-hmm.
like breakdowns, things not going the way I want them to go.
Right.
And if every time I fail or every time something doesn't go the way I want it to go, I just learn from it. See, every failure you have, the bigger your company gets, the more times that failure will happen.
Right.
Not like there's isolated ones where it's a one-off.
Right.
I haven't run into many of those. We had a house light on fire last year. That doesn't happen very often. That's one time that's happened. And we learned a really valuable lesson. Like, wow, we need to actually call on all of our subcontractors' insurance every month to make sure it didn't expire, that they paid their bill. This subcontractor's insurance lapsed 1 week prior because he didn't make a payment, and we picked up a $20,000 bill to fix the house.
Okay.
So look, it doesn't get any better in terms of problems, you know, there's always going to be those, But you know what? I didn't lose one night of sleep. I didn't stress about it because I'm like, hey, I got the cards I'm dealt. My resistance to it is where my suffering is.
Right.
All there is to do is to literally learn from it.
Yeah.
And if what I'm doing isn't working, then maybe the other thing is I can maybe see if there's a different perspective to take on it too.
Mhm.
You know? And so I would just take these things as learning lessons, because every problem will happen multiple times.
Mhm.
So if this problem you're dealing with is going to cost you $500, then over time it's going to cost you $50,000
Right.
if you don't. But you had you were having the problem because you didn't know about that problem in the first place.
Right.
So look at these as opportunities to be like, something I didn't know. That's going to cost me. That's going to happen 100 times, but it could only happen this one time. And you can actually start to just be grateful for those things, because they're just educating you. And naturally, the next time you deal with someone in this wrought iron, like let's say the exact same situation happened with the wrought iron again, you would handle it differently. Naturally, you don't even need to do the mental thinking about that to handle that differently.
Right.
You will just naturally handle it differently.
Yeah.
This is just the growing pains of a new business. And I've said this in a lot of the calls I've had lately. You're not in this business for year 1 and 2.
Yeah.
You're just not. You're in this business for maybe year 3, definitely like year 5.
Okay.
Right? Like, and I think before you started the business, I think if I was like, hey, the first 3 or 4 years are going to be really tough, but by year 5, you're going to be able to make $150,000, $200,000 a year, like clockwork.
Mhm.
You'd be like, yeah, cool. That's kind of what I would expect as a new business owner.
Yeah.
Yet then when people get into business, they get really impatient and, frustrated with the problems and the growing pains and all that. So it's kind of strange how that works, but it really is like, you guys have learned so much, I can imagine, in the last 13 months since starting.
Yeah.
And it's only 13 months.
Well, I will say, I mean, your class changed everything about how we were approaching it. I honestly didn't want to do exteriors, and now we only want to do exteriors. I think everything you've said we found to be true. I mean, you're just right on with everything. I remember you telling me not to do cabinet painting, and we didn't want to get into that, and we were completely in. I was like, no, I think we do. Like, we don't anymore. You're right.
Yeah, now it's on my car and I have to scrape it off.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you were right on with that. I really thought the exteriors would be like the minority of our work, and it's really what you're right. They're easier. They're bigger money. It's just better. So, I mean, we super value what you say. We found it to be true. I don't even know what we'd be doing right now if we didn't take your course, because we would have completely had a different plan and everything. And honestly, I mean, we really only worked 6 months or less last year. We made about maybe $80,000 profit. I mean, in 6 months, that's way more than I ever would have thought. So we're definitely not complaining. We're just trying to iron out these kinks and trying to decide, are we being too nice, or we need to put our foot down, and what do we do with these subs? And so, I mean, you're really helpful. We value what you say. I think you know what you're talking about. Well, I know you know what you're talking about. I can definitely tell.
Yeah, and you'll just, I wish I could, as I talk to you guys, I'm like, okay, so I know exactly how I view all these, so that I know exactly what to do in all of them, so there's not any of this and it's interesting because what I'm taking out of this is, how can I get that kind of training to people who are newer faster?
Yeah.
What is more at the fundamental level of what I'm thinking about, and how can I train that in a way that we can blanket answer all of these questions a little bit? And I've got some stuff about it. I don't have that training dialed in quite good enough yet.
Yeah.
One more quick question. When we went through the course, when you talked about like door-to-door marketing, you talked about initially paying $15 per lead, and obviously you guys have changed your approach to that a ton. Kind of a thing that me and Jennifer argue about, what to pay per lead, how to pay the people. I'm erring more on the side of wanting to pay more than she is. Obviously we aren't able to hire anyone, so it's kind of it's a battle that we have when we get to the point of trying to hire somebody, of what to pay them, and how to kind of approach that. So
No real answer there either. I'm more err on the side of overpaying people everywhere, all the time. Waiters, you know,
Yeah.
tipping people,
Yeah.
my employees, my staff. I overpay everybody. My business partner, Alyssa, I don't even want to say overpay, underpay, because it's not like that. I pay this much and she wants to pay this much, and she has extraordinary people and we have extraordinary people, and they can both kind of work, and her people are still doing really, really well, but it's like there's always going to be I don't know the answer there. I'm kind of like it's a similar thing with my wife and I. Like I pay more for things than she does. And I don't think the answer is which one is right. Um, I think the answer is more which one works,
Right.
and you just kind of keep trying to see what works. And there's pros and cons to both. I think to some degree, when I overpay people, I think people are more entitled.
Yeah.
I think that when you pay people less money than as like a base pay, they are more inclined to earn it. And sometimes you find better people that way. Sometimes it might be harder in recruiting, or you find people who are willing to work harder and people who really want the position more, and they're not in it for just the money. So I'm constantly in like an inquiry of what works. And I don't know what works. I just kind of know what doesn't work. And then how can I'm always, even when I find things that work really well, I'm figuring out how to make them work better.
Yeah. Well, I'm okay with overpaying when I know someone's good, but I feel like they need to earn it first. So that's where our disagreement is. Like lots of these people, they come one day and they don't.
Yeah.
Why did we just pay them $100 for nothing?
Right.
That type of a thing. But yep. Well, did you have anything? I guess our time is probably up, but did you have anything specific that you had wanted to talk about that we didn't get to?
No, I just,
Okay.
yeah, we got through most of yours.
Yeah.
Were there more questions you have down that we didn't get to?
I'm looking at my thing. No, it was, I mean, you kind of nailed you're really, really good at like getting to the root of what the issues are. And I think you identified that. It's really, I'm trying to figure out individual problems, and I have been trying to get the lesson, whereas I think like sometimes we overpromise things, and I'm really, really hyper aware of that now that I'm super thorough. So I think we're getting better at that, but
I'm not as thorough, so
right.
I get yelled at a lot.
Yeah.
But
I get it.
that's kind of where we're at. So yeah, I mean, the biggest challenge we have right now is finding subs, finding marketers. It's that scaling stuff, basically. And I guess there's one thing that I've like ran numbers in my head is there a certain point where me having a couple marketers and doing the sales appointments and kind of balancing the production management, is there a certain point where we don't make much more money being a $700,000 company than we do being a $2 million company, because your profit margins
overhead
start going down?
I mean, kind of.
Yeah.
Like maybe at first, but you also can't get to, like you can get to 150K a year without hiring any people.
Right.
But you can never get to 500K a year doing that. Right. And you might start hiring people and be running a bigger business that has more moving parts and still make 150, but now you are at the bottom of that tier. Where then you can go to 500.
Got somewhere to go.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, kind of, again, like kind of yes and no, like and you got to do it smart. So, I mean, my suggestion is, soak up as much of the stuff as I can give you for now to get to about 750 a year in revenue. And when you're making a couple 100,000 a year and you can justify paying someone 2,000 a month to coach you, then hit me up and I'll tell you who to hire.
Gotcha. And
they'll help you grow, because things get look, you can use my stuff to 750 because pretty much all the answers are the same from 0 to 750. It's marketing, sales, production. Here's the core systems. You got to learn the lessons and nuances of them, which I can't put in a course because there's too many, I mean, this has been an hour-long conversation. My course would be 100 hours long if I addressed every little nuance, right? And then nobody would go through it because it'd be overwhelming.
Yeah.
So, and you would have to learn your lessons the hard way anyways, like many people do. Like I say, do pre-closes at estimates. People don't do them. I say, do this. People don't do it. People learn their lessons the hard way anyway.
Right.
But point is, my course can get you pretty far, but then when you start building teams, the nuances and the complexities, it's not a one size fits all anymore. It's like a coach is really useful there, and you can afford them. So my friends at Breakthrough Academy, like Danny and Igor and James, they run that company. They're freaking phenomenal at what they do. So they're a great company to work with once it's economical.
Writing it down, I'll check it out.
Just let them know I sent you.
Okay.
But we kind of have this intentionally set up where it's like I help people start, and I get them. They don't really work with people under 750 a year. Their average business is like that works with them is like maybe 2.3 million or something. And I think last year, that their average member grew profit year over year by 134%.
Oh my gosh.
That's insane. That is insane for a large company. And they have companies up to like 20, 30 million that they work with and consult. And they basically apply a franchise style system and bi-weekly coaching to trades businesses.
Okay.
So they're really good at what they do. I'm not even going to try to do what they're doing because they do such a great job of it. Right. And I kind of get people from 0 to 750 and then say, okay, you're ready, go into BTA. And I've got quite a few of our members are in there now. Like Bruce is in there, Mason was in there. There's a handful of other guys that are in that program now.
So they're making that much. That's crazy. And this isn't a conversation, just a quick question. Are you guys an LLC? Do you change that as you get bigger? I know that's a question, but I'm just curious.
I'm restructuring our whole corporate structure right now. Okay. You want to take income as an S corp because you will get tax advantage as an S corp. There are downsides to being an S corp as well, which is lack of flexibility. And so the way I think I will do it is set up an S corp that I own, and my S corp will own the interest in my LLCs.
Gotcha.
Instead of making my LLCs S corps, because then I can get the tax advantage of an S corp with the flexibility of an LLC if my S corp owns my interest in my LLC. Does that make sense?
Yes, but we would only do something like that as we grew. It wouldn't be necessary this early on. Do you agree with that?
Talk to an accountant. Talk to a CPA.
Yeah. We kind of went through this, but I was curious because you're so big now if you were moving away from the LLC. So
our thing is really complex with all the companies and partnerships and stuff, and especially where it's going to be in like 10 years. Right. So I'm getting that foundation ironed out right now.
Okay.
One last quick question. I've got painters calling me. So the sales process, I have a sales background. I don't really, I do implement pre-closes, but I really don't ask for the order there. We kind of prepare estimates afterwards and then follow up, which I know can be chasing my tail a little bit. Our closing rate seems to be right around 40%. So I know, it can probably get a little bit better, but are you guys like handwriting estimates on the spot, or is that's how you're doing everything? Okay. Because that's just kind of one of the things
he did test out giving them the price on the spot, but almost everyone's getting multiple quotes. They still pick us half the time, but it just seems like what everyone's doing. But
check out in like a week and a half, I'm going to roll out a membership program. Check that out. It's going to be like our sales coaching program, but a lot more in depth and year round. And
yeah, we work in a really, really affluent neighborhood specifically, and it seems like it's just, engineers, doctors, and they are getting other quotes. So it's, at a certain point, it was, why do I keep trying to go for this? And I guess it's not hurting anything either. So, but
yeah.
More work for you when you're trying to close it. But.
Right. Well, and then just kind of the follow-up work. But you think that 40% we're not doing too bad?
No, 40% is great. I think when people are really on their game, we'll have people sell like 60 to 70% though.
Okay.
Dang.
And so, there's room to improve, and there's room to be more efficient. And you can't, one of the mistakes I talk about and when I'm training people on sales is you can't use your customers as your feedback loop because they're not telling you the truth. Okay. Or they're not telling you what the useful information is. For example, when I have salespeople go out and they keep hearing customers say your price is high, they're like, oh, our price is high. It's like, no, it's not. That's what they're saying.
Right.
They view your price as high because you're not showing them value. See, when people close 50, I can have 2 salespeople go out to the same neighborhoods and the same customers, and one of them closes 7 out of 14 bids, and the other one closes 1 out of 14, and everyone says the price is high. They're both delivering the same prices. The person who booked 7 out of 14, no one told them the price is high. Why is that? Because their price is justified.
Right.
And so I can't use customers as feedback. So the thing is other estimates is the easiest, most convenient excuse in the world as a homeowner.
Yeah.
What a lot of times, and I'm not saying this is happening with you, but a lot of times what's happening with other estimates is a lack of trust. And I've never in 14 years had a customer say, I just don't trust you.
Yeah.
They've never said it, but a lot of them don't. So what they say is, I am going to get other estimates.
Yeah.
Or it's a presentation thing, or it's a,
I think we do good with trust. I think I do good with value. I think occasionally people go with a better price, but I feel like 20 to 30% of the people I lose just end up not painting this year. So that's kind of.
Yeah, and I didn't mean that about you.
No,
The
no,
point
no.
is, clients are not a reliable source of information about your sales process.
Okay. Yeah, no, we're good. We've had multiple people take like 7 quotes and still pick us, but I don't know. My thing on that is even when I'm getting work done, I like to get multiple quotes, so I get it. But
I get it.
Yeah.
I just know that there's room to improve on sales. I just check out the thing that comes out in a couple weeks. It'll be beneficial.
We will. Thank you, Eric. You've been awesome, and we so appreciate it. And I know I ask a ton of questions. You're super patient, and I'm totally on board with everything you've said. So thank you.
Cool. Yeah, you guys are doing great. You just keep at it and don't get too stressed about the problems. It's just part of the game.
That's me more than okay.
Yeah. Oh, I could tell. All right, cool.
Have a
great day.
Thanks, you too.
Bye.
Bye.